Hello and welcome back to this Downplay Idealistic Crusade. This video will be going over the titles I picked up in Powerhouse Indicator's 5th anniversary sale. So normally I can't go too terribly overboard with these because being in the US, the shipping costs are quite high. They do have fantastic shipping though. Their packaging and shipping service is pretty much the best I've seen from any studio label. But to get the free shipping threshold, you do have to spend a significant amount, and there were a number of box sets and titles that I've really been wanting. And as with a number of indicator releases, they are limited, and so once the limited editions and box sets are gone, they become real collector's pieces, also known as real pieces that you kick yourself you didn't get while they were available, and then you regret it ever afterwards. So I've been bitten by the indicator bug, and so there are several titles that I was just so interested in that I didn't want to miss out on, and the sales were so great that I just decided, what the heck, why not go for it? And so I packaged together more titles than I would normally because I realized I was getting relatively close to the free shipping threshold anyway. So I decided why not? So this video will have far more titles than most of my other videos, especially my indicator ones. This is the first time that I've gone in and done the free shipping threshold myself and not as part of a group buyer deal. But again, some of these I am glad I went ahead and went for because now they are very limited in quantities. They're on the low stock alerts, or they've already sold out of the limited editions. So I couldn't wait any longer on two of them specifically, of the standalones that were released this year that I've been dying to check out. So I guess we'll start with the standalones first and then go through the limited edition box sets. Both of the two new limited edition standalone releases from this year that I was so interested in are both directed by Howard Hawks, and both important for many reasons, not just that they really are the first films that truly established various star actors and actresses. So the first is this beautiful limited edition special edition of the 1930 film The Criminal Code, directed by Howard Hawks, starring Walter Houston. But this is really the film that brought Boris Karloff to notice for the first time. He had been a bit player in dozens upon dozens of films, never really made much of an impact other than All of Us Now, going back and suddenly seeing our beloved Boris pop up in a bit part. But his performance here really stood out to people, and it's really this film that got him eventually noticed by James Whale when he was trying to cast Frankenstein. And so without Karloff's performance and his real intensity in The Criminal Code, it is unlikely that he would have been even considered by James Whale and then eventually cast in Frankenstein, which is, of course, the film that made his career. So that's why a good bulk of the extras do talk about Karloff, not only his role in this film, and but also its place in his career. But it is a great film, and I'm so beyond excited to check out the HD presentation. As usual, as you can tell with any indicator release, this is absolutely loaded with extras, from feature commentary to talking head featurettes, with commentary by a lot of the great historians we're used to. As always with Indicator, they do reversible art on the limited edition, so this uses another original poster variant, which they have matched on the disc as well. In the booklet, there's a shot of Boris on the cover. As always, it's a very sturdy booklet with beautiful stills. I think Indicator really has the edge on everybody else in terms of making consistently amazing booklets that are also easy to read. That's another thing. A lot of booklets are great, but the binding is so tight, or it's a fold out, or the double-sided fold out that you're working all around. And it's not like it's the easiest thing in the world to read. And also, the typeface and font is large enough to be easily readable. This also has a vintage interview with Howard Hawks and pieces on the film and its place in Hawks' career, plus the critical response at the time, and then, of course, the presentation credits. This isn't a new restoration. It's apparently a Sony HD remaster, as is common on the non-4K titles, but still, I am so beyond excited to see this on Blu-ray finally. And then, as always, they usually have a great candid production still of the director on the back of the booklet. And here's a great shot of Hawks at camera, which I just love. I could frame this very easily. So that is the indicator release of the Criminal Code. Once this is sold out, it will be reissued as a standard edition, just without the booklet and with the slightly altered cover. But again, this is an essential film for Howard Hawks fans and Karloff fans. If you ever wondered where Karloff really first cut loose on screen and really became a notable presence, it's really his performance here in The Criminal Code. Next, Spy number 208, also from this year, also a limited edition, which I think may also be sold out by now. I'm not entirely sure, but I know it was at least like Criminal Code on the low stock alert. Also one of the great Howard Hawks films. This one is doubly important because some argue it may be the first film to define the screwball comedy, thus being the first screwball comedy, but it kind of shares that honor, I think, because it also came out in the year of 1934, which also gave us It Happened One Night from Frank Capra and Robert Riskin. So I think this film kind of shares that distinction with It Happened One Night and other precursors as well, but it is one of the defining screwball comedies, and the film that really broke Carole Lombard into stardom finally. That is, of course, 20th Century, with this absolutely jaw-dropping, beautiful cover. This is already, I think, a candidate possibly for Disc of the Year, but in terms of the artwork, I think this may have it. It is absolutely gorgeous. Just the presentation, everything. It's so simplistic, but it's original materials and just absolutely stunning. You can just stare at this for ages. Then the side spine and the rear is just this nice, solid, light orange, loaded with extras. This is a brand new 4K restoration. It is just packed with extras, from a new audio commentary to a vintage Peter Bogdanovich piece, a new piece on the film and its place in Carole Lombard's career, the radio adaptation, various trailers and image galleries, and of course, the wonderful indicator booklet, which I have just gotten completely hooked on these. Their style, their presentation, their elegance and simplicity, and the fact that they're still informative and easy to read, which again is not something you get in every booklet on a Blu-ray release. And they always do the best job at selecting stills and also making sure that the stills themselves look good and are placed well. Another interview with Howard Hawks specifically on 20th Century. And then here are the transfer notes. The lovely shot of Hawks with John Barrymore and Lombard on the back. Then the interior, the disc carries the main art, but the reverse is one of the vintage posters for the film. Even if this has sold out by the time you're interested in it and you're only able to get the standard edition when it comes out, please don't stop. Just please go ahead and get this. I have yet to be able to dig into this disc and really examine it, but already it is looking like one of the best indicator releases ever. Not only is it a brand new 4K restoration loaded with extras and gorgeous artwork, but it is a 4K restoration on an indicator release of one of the great films of the comedy genre, absolutely without question. So, absolutely beautiful release of 20th Century. Next are titles I missed out on the limited editions, and then I've been waiting, and I've had them on my wish list to get the standard editions, and then I finally just decided to add a bunch of these again to hit that free shipping threshold. So some of these are upgrades for titles I have. They're US or other editions of, and all are better than their other Blu-ray releases that I've owned before. But this first one is a must-own. It's one of the great classic film noirs. It's one of the great Fritz Lang films. Just one of the great films in general, which is, of course, The Big Heat. This is the standard edition reissue, so it doesn't have the booklet or the interior artwork, but the disc contents are the same. Here in the States, we had a Twilight Time release, actually two of them, but the indicator does vault ahead in terms of its extras and its encoding. So if you were just looking to get one version of The Big Heat and you don't know which version because there are many now, the indicator one is the way to go in terms of overall presentation, encoding, and extras. But you will be getting this standard release now instead of the original limited edition, which would have been nice, but at least indicator doesn't actually change the disc or anything in those terms. So you're still getting the same disc presentation, the same fantastic extras package. You just simply lose the booklet and the interior artwork. Next is another reissue of a standard edition This is a film I haven't seen in far too long, and I've wanted to get the Indicator edition for some time. That is of the 1969 Sidney Pollack directed feature Castle Keep with Burt Lancaster. This is a lovely Indicator release loaded with extra features, gorgeous original artwork, and an alternative soundtrack presentation as well. It's credited as a 4.0 mix, so I'm really curious to revisit this. I've been wanting to look at this release for some time, but unfortunately I missed out on the limited edition. Also, some Indicator releases are packaged like this in a blue keep case. I don't mind the color so much. It's obviously due to supply issues. So if you get an Indicator release and it's in a blue case, sometimes that's just how it is. I guess if it really bothers you that much, you can just buy an extra clear case as well. But don't be bothered or worried if suddenly you get an Indicator disc and it's in a blue case instead of a clear one. So then I finally was also able to grab the standard edition reissue of the 1947 Orson Welles directed masterpiece, The Lady from Shanghai. This is an older Indicator title, and along with The Big Heat, when I saw these originally reviewed and saw how they completely bested their U.S. counterparts in both transfer and extras package, it really clued me into Indicator, and then stupidly I didn't get either of them until they sold out of the limited edition. So I've been meaning to get these, both this and The Big Heat, for far too long. So very happy to finally able to do that. Again, this is better than the U.S. releases. You can get the really cheap Mill Creek version, which was when they were making really amazing Blu-rays from Sony Masters before they just started, doing it cheaply. But you won't get the lovely extras package, and again, the Indicator release is better encoded. This is the release to go for, and of course has the iconic shot of Rita Hayworth here from the original poster, which is really all you ever need on the cover of this film on any video release. This is the best release in the world, and it also carries over the commentary from the DVD, which was missing on all the US Blu-rays. It does have a new extras package, so this is the Lady from Shanghai you will want for your collection. These last four are all standard edition reissues of classic Hammer films. These were actually the four titles that were in the original Indicator Hammer Volume 1 box set, which I stupidly didn't get before it went out of print. And then I fell in love with their box sets and have gotten the other volumes, so now I'm just missing box 1. But I've been wanting to get the four, and they are standard editions now, so while you lose the amazing box and fancy swag, you can at least still get the same fantastic presentation. So I finally grabbed all four while they were on sale. So that means I, of course, got 1963's Maniac from their psychological horrors. Really love the original art on this. And as always with their Hammer releases, it's got a fantastic loaded extras package. Pretty much Indicator, every time they release a Hammer film, it is the definitive release that this film has ever or probably will ever get. So definitely, if you love any Hammer films and you've not gotten the Indicator version of said film yet, you're really not experiencing it to its fullest potential on disc. Indicator really goes above and beyond on not just the top tier Hammer films they get access to, but even the lesser known or lesser regarded ones, or the non-horror Hammer films. So it's always impressive getting an Indicator release of a Hammer film, even if it has to be the standard edition instead of the lovely limited box set. Next is, of course, their release of The Gorgon. Beautiful original art. I really like the pink background, which carries over onto the back. Again, a fantastic extras package, and this is one where you can definitely tell it stomps all over the US releases, so I will be very happy to finally get rid of my US Mill Creek version, which uses the Sony Master, but this has a beautiful encoding job, lossless audio where that one doesn't, and really looks fantastic. This is a beautifully shot film. Michael Reed shot this. It's one of the handful of Hammer films that he shot, and it looks gorgeous. It always has. And of course, getting all the Terence Fisher directed Hammer films in their best possible quality is what you want to do, because they are really something special. Show you the interior. Again, at the very least, even though it's just giving you pictures of other titles, they do take the time to actually match the color of the exterior art, which I find another little tiny detail that Indicator does that really shows their attention to quality, which is very much appreciated. Also for 1964, I got Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, which was Hammer's next attempt at a mummy film, and sort of continuing in their Mummy cycle of films that are kind of not exactly connected. And once you see the original 1959 Mummy film, unless you really like the later films or you're a Hammer geek like I am, there is kind of the law of diminishing returns. Although Blood from the Mummy's Tomb, the final film, actually has some pretty good stuff in it. But I've really been wanting to see this film again and look at it on the Indicator release. I love the original artwork they used here. That carries over onto the back with the usual wonderful Hammer extras. And again, they've maintained the sort of bandage beige gray on the back of the actual art insert, so that matches with the exterior. And then last is 1965's Fanatic, again in their psychological horror thriller series. I've been wanting to rewatch this for some time. It's been quite a while since I've seen it. And what's special about this is one of the films that was written by Richard Matheson, who was going to do more films with Hammer, wound up writing a couple films. Some unfortunately did not get made. The most famous being the fact that Hammer almost did an adaptation of Matheson's classic I Am Legend novel. Let that sink in for a moment. What could Hammer have done with that story? Unfortunately, the British Board of Film Censors said, no way in hell can you adapt this story. So that pretty much canceled that idea. But anyway, this is a wonderful film and really lovely original poster artwork, as always on Indicator releases. The wonderful bucket, a load of extras on the back. And then the wonderful interior with the lovely disc art. And of course, this was the primary image used on the Volume 1 Hammer box set. So even though I missed out on that, I've now finally been able to get the other 4 Indicator released Hammer titles that I had not yet. So moving on to the limited edition box set titles, I'll start with the only one that I got that is just a special edition of a single film instead of a multi-film box set. This is a film that you always don't hear the greatest about. It doesn't have the greatest reputation, but when I finally did see it, I kind of fell in love with it, even though it's kind of a sequel in name only, and why would you make a sequel to a film, a great deal later, as in, 17 years later. But I was so pleased when Indicator announced they were doing a big deluxe reissue with the 2 different cuts of the film, a 2-disc set affair loaded with extras. So I really had to get this before it sold out because I know it was on the low stock alert. So I was very pleased to finally get their limited edition of Force 10 from Navarone. Again, the sequel to the 1961 masterpiece, The Guns of Navarone. This was directed by Guy Hamilton. Again, it doesn't have the greatest reputation in the world, but it has a particular blend of serious wartime spy drama, but with an undercurrent of black humor mixed in throughout that I really found enormously appealing. Plus, it has a phenomenal cast, and I do love the way that Robert Shaw and Harrison Ford interact with each other, along with Edward Fox as well, and the rest of the cast. There's a lot of Bond connections to the James Bond series, not only in the cast, but the fact that this was directed by Guy Hamilton. Die-hard Bond fans will notice many faces pop up from the series in this film, and a number of little flourishes. There are maybe 1 or 2 bits that might remind you a little bit of Goldfinger here and there, and the sort of sly humor that's thrown throughout. This is a beautiful hard case. Indicator's done a number of these for specific films. I haven't got to actually get most of those. Unfortunately, they've all sold out, but I really wanted to make sure that I got this one. And then, of course, the rear. Now I'll go ahead and take the plastic off, if I can. So free you from your shrink-wrapped prison. So here it is with the shrink wrap taken off. Apparently this is the number 520 out of 5,000. That's what this was limited to. And it was already on the low stock alert, so sometimes I've noticed it never really is determinable what number you're going to get, and will that correspond with how many they have. One of the other sets I've got is almost at the end of the run, and as far as I know, it's not close to being sold out yet. But beautiful hard case. Here it is without the band on. This is the original poster artwork that I have on the Orion Letterbox Laserdisc release. And then here's the rear. As you can see, absolutely loaded with extras. And then here is the case itself, still carrying the original artwork. And here's the rear. So once this is completely sold out, this is what you'll be receiving, just the standard Amaray case with the 2 discs inside. And then the extended version plus extras is on disc 1, and then the theatrical cut is on disc 2, I think, with a handful of the other extras that didn't fit on disc 1. And then the reversible art. Here's the reversible poster artwork. I should mention, I was wrong. I said earlier, this interior art, which I believe is the U.S. poster, this is what's on the Laserdisc, whereas the alternate poster, which I'm guessing is the UK poster, is not. So, but they are so similar, it's easy to mix them up. Of course, with the figures running here, it looks almost like the poster art for something like Von Ryan's Express, for example. Whereas this has a slightly different look where it looks like they're carved out of the side of the mountain. Again, this is loaded with extras. The standard theatrical cut has 3 audio tracks, mono, a stereo presentation, and a 5.1 mix, which is what you would find on the US Blu-ray. The extended cut only has mono. The Laserdisc I have is mono as well. And then, unfortunately, though, they had to use the Studio Masters for this, and then after this came out, Kino Lorber released their new version, which I think has a new commentary, but none of these extras. But they were able to use a brand new scan, so theirs will look better in terms of picture quality because of that, but in every other way, the Indicator is the way to go. And the picture transfer, if you look at comparison reviews, it still looks great, but it doesn't have that same image fidelity because it's not from a brand new scan, which is nothing Indicator did wrong, something they could really do about that. I guess it was maybe timing or licensing or something, but they did their darndest to make this a fantastic release. So this is still the version to get if you love this film like I do, and it is absolutely stuffed to the gills with extras, in addition to having both versions of the film, which, again, as far as I know, I think this is the only release to do that. I believe I believe the Kino Blu-ray might have both versions, but again, all it has is a commentary, and that's it. Here you have a wonderful Indicator limited booklet. This has the nice slate feel and the hard-bound quality of all of their box set booklets. The rear shot of Guy Hamilton there. Again, I don't think anybody comes close to Indicator in terms of their booklets for any of their releases. I mean, this is just absolutely gorgeous. So I cannot wait to dig into this. I already think this is a phenomenal package for a film that I feel is very underrated. So I was beyond surprised that Indicator decided they were going to do this as a big special edition, because honestly, it's a film that deserves a better reputation, and every time I come back to it, it's better than what I remembered, and it has many great sequences in it. I'm also very interested to finally compare the two versions, which I've only read about. I'm primarily used to the shorter theatrical cut. So in addition to that, in the limited package, we have this nice bound selection of stills. I can slip the band off, but they're all very well done. On a nice sort of thick cardstock. So I really, really enjoy things like this. If you're going to do something like this and include stills, you better darn make sure that it's actually worth the effort, and these certainly are. They are exceptionally high quality, and again, they have the nice cardstock feel. This is very much like the other stills and cards I've gotten and seen in other Indicator releases. Of course, you have to have one of the lovely Barbara Bach in here. There we go. The only trouble is trying to keep these nice. You want to put the little band back on and then trying to do it just right. It takes some time. Easier said than done. And all nicely slots back in there. So that is Spine 193. This is their limited deluxe package of Force 10 from Navarone, which again I think is a great World War II adventure film, even if it's not quite what you'd expect from a Guns of Navarone sequel, especially all these years later. But it's still a hell of a lot of fun, and I'm so excited to dig into the 2 cuts and extras package. And this next one is the first of the box sets. Again, I decided to just load up on things that were going out of print or things that I always wanted to get. Unfortunately, this is the second volume of 2, and I missed out on the first one, which has the more famous titles in it. But I'm such a fan of Indicator's box sets, and one film in particular in this set I really wanted to see the indicator version of. So I knew it was going out of print, and I decided, I was looking for things to get that free shipping, and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to get volume 2, even though I didn't get volume 1. I guess if I never find it, I can eventually get the standalones. But I went ahead and picked up the William Castle at Columbia Volume 2 box. So this is in the traditional lovely indicator hard case box with gorgeous artwork, the lovely slit band. What I really love is that they took the iconic William Castle logo of him sitting in his director's chair and used that for the slit band, or whatever you want to call it here. So this one is number 4393. I think this has sold out now. If it hasn't, there's only a handful left. Volume 1 has sold out. But this is just another lovely indicator box set. And I was really excited to look at the indicator release, or I really wanted to look at the indicator release of the remake Castle did of The Old Dark House. I really loved the original film with a passion, and saw the remake when I was a kid and didn't think it was much to write home about, and then have decried that they ever made a remake ever since. But I wanted to take a fresh look at it, and especially because the indicator has a number of alternate versions, presentations, and extras, as always with indicator releases. So let's get this thing open. So here we go. Let's take the slit band off. And as always with these, they usually tuck in a vintage quote or something for the promotions on the side. So this one, of course, says, "The wildest web of evil ever spun." They don't write promos the way they used to. So here is the art. This looks really wonderful on this box set, especially with this colored background. And then Castle's name in his handwriting on the side. And then here is the back with the extensive extra selection. The first film in the set is Zotz from 1962. I've actually never gotten to see this. I've only read about it, so this will be a first-time watch for me. Of course, nice extras package. And then the usual lovely indicator interior with a big fancy booklet and alternative artwork. Here's the lovely booklet. And a wonderful shot of Castle on the back. He was such a character that you can't help but love him, even if you find some of his films cheesy. And by cheesy, I mean beyond the definition of cheesy. The next is 1963's 13 Frightened Girls, not to be confused with 13 Ghosts that Castle would also make. This is another one I haven't seen in a very long time. I saw pretty much most of Castle's main films back when they were first coming out on DVD and they made a box set. I was able to rent them all from my local library and sort of do a binge watch through. So I will be revisiting some of these. Here's the limited edition extras package, the interior. There's the reversible art, and then the wonderful booklet, and then a photo of Castle on the rear. Here's the film I was most interested in, which of course is the remake of The Old Dark House, which interestingly Castle made in partnership with Hammer Films. So this is also technically a Hammer film, and of course remaking the 1932 James Whale Universal Horror masterpiece of the same name. Really like the art. And then the extras package. What's really fantastic about this is it's got alternate presentations. So it has both the black and white U.S. theatrical version. Then it has the cut A certificate UK version, and then the uncut complete color version. So you can look at the original theatrical censored, or just theatrical cut versions, apparently I guess in black and white, and then the color version exists in its uncut form. So you have not one, not two, but 3 presentations of the film here to enjoy. So I'm really interested to revisit this because I haven't seen it in years, and now that I'm such a diehard forever fan of the James Whale original film, I'm really curious how it's going to look coming at it from my own current modern critical perspective, and also being able to look at the 3 versions just sounded so interesting, because it's not often that you have a film released to disc that, sometimes you might have multiple aspect ratios or multiple cuts, but very uncommon to have a film in both black and white and color, and it having been originally released or not released in that way, not actually making something like that in post production. No, this was actually apparently released in both forms. Here's the booklet. Love the publicity still on the front. There's the rear. Then last is 1964's Straight Jacket, which is one of the notable late period career films for Joan Crawford. Also has the wonderful Diane Baker in it, and of course is a film very much in the same vein of films that were coming out after the success of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which that sort of genre has, I think, a variety of different names. But if you know that film, you know what kind of film this is going to be going into it. Lovely extras package. I can't wait to dig into this. Actually, all of these, of course. The trouble is finding the time. Here's the interior. And, of course, showing you the reverse. I love that the alternate U.S. poster here, straight out tells you, this film vividly depicts axe murderers. There's no beating around the bush with this picture, is there? And then here is the booklet. I really love this still. So that is the William Castle at Columbia Volume 2 set. Again, I hope to find the matching Volume 1 someday, because that has the more famous titles, particularly The Tingler and Mr. Sardonicus and things like that. And I've read so many good things about that box that I wanted to also get this one. And then, unfortunately, I've missed Volume 1. So if I ultimately can't find it, I can at least still get the standalones like I did for the Hammer Volume 1. But still, this is a wonderful box set, as always, from Indicator. Next is the absolutely beautiful first volume of a new series that they're doing. They're up to volume 4 now, and all of these are just essential. I'm so happy I was able to finally start getting some of these, because I know they're going to be out of print soon. In fact, they actually sold out of a number of titles in this sale, and with some of them being these box sets. But the first thing to sell out and actually have to get new copies printed, and thus meant orders got delayed, which is why I'm just getting the anniversary sale order now, which I was fine to wait for, because I was just really wanting to get these and don't want to miss these like I've missed other Indicator releases. But this is the beautiful Columbia Noir Volume 1 box set. Beautiful image, beautiful start cover. Then I love the sort of stenciled attack style font on the side that makes it really jump out and stick out. This is getting pretty close to the end of the run. This is number 5097 out of 6,000. I don't think these are sold out yet, but if you do want to get the Noir boxes, particularly the first 2 volumes, because they're older and 3 and 4 have only just come out, it's definitely advisable to get these sooner rather than later. Of course, these will all be released as standard editions, but I guess, you'll have to buy them individually. It'll take some time for them to be released. So let's get this opened up. So here it is with the shrink wrap off. Let me take off the Indicator band. So here it is by itself. There are the titles. And of course, the great quote used for this is, movies that throw acid right back in the gangsters' faces. You just need that sticking out on your shelf. It just catches the eye and makes you feel all nice and warm inside, if you're a noir geek like myself. So here is the solitary image. Beautifully rendered. Again, nobody does these boxes like Indicator does. You also get the spines on the bottom. They always put the titles on top, which I really like, because that way when you're pulling a box out, you can't quite remember what titles are in which box. You can always look at the top or the band. And then this, instead of doing keep cases, because there are more films than just 4, they went with the really lovely, high-quality, I don't know what you call these, but these little cardstock book-type inserts for each film. This is exactly like they did on the Dietrich and von Sternberg box that I'm absolutely gaga over, and other boxes. So this is seemingly what they're doing when they have more than 4 or 5 films to put in a single box set. So going through these, and again, these are just beautifully done. But since they're not keep cases, you do have to be careful. When you take them in and out, it is very easy, because I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but the edges sort of stick out past the plastic tray. So if you're not careful, and it slots in and out of the box pretty easy, but if you're not careful and you're just going to be doing this all the time, it'll be very easy to ding the corners. But again, these are beautifully done. So first is the 1945 noir, Escape in the Fog. Beautiful original poster artwork. These things, again, are gorgeously printed. These boxes are replicating a lot of what we saw on the Columbia Film Noir box sets that started coming out on DVD. They did a couple volumes of those, with some being restored with participation from the Film Foundation. And so this is basically the first sort of Blu-ray equivalent of that. There's been some that have come out on disc before, but nothing like this. And these all have, of course, proper, wonderful indicator extras packages, gorgeous packaging. I mean, these are just works of beauty. There's it with the disc out. So I've seen a good many of these. I never, unfortunately, owned the DVD sets because they were very expensive and didn't have a whole lot of extras, so I was never able to get them at a decent price. And then it was very nice that Indicator announced this, and I was suddenly realized, hey, that's most of the stuff from the old Columbia Noir DVD sets, but these are just gorgeous. Next, from 1949, directed by Joseph H. Lewis. I mean, these are gorgeous. This is The Undercover Man. I mean, just looking at these doesn't tell you how amazing the quality is when you hold it in your hand. It is something else. These are just works of beauty in terms of home video packaging. Again, lovely indicator extras package. This one has been restored at 2K resolution. Again, same type of design using beautiful stills. And then take the disc out, and you get the same image but across the entirety of the disc tray page. Next is 1954's Drive a Crooked Road, which is one of the really good later career Mickey Rooney films. And of course, interestingly, was written by Blake Edwards, not something you would expect him to be working on, but he did do a number of interesting films, or sort of films that definitely weren't comedies or comedic in nature in his earlier days. So it's definitely atypical of what you think of Blake Edwards for. It's been a long time since I've seen this, and I'm really excited to dig into these boxes, not just for films I haven't seen in a while, but films that I've never gotten to see, or especially not in quality like this. There's the disc tray. Next, from 1955, is Five Against the House. They definitely don't make art like these anymore. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Again, you once you hold this in your hands, you will not regret spending a single penny on this. So even paying the import cost and having to pay more because you're here in the U.S., when you actually get these releases in your hand, this is what home video is all about. This is what the quality you should expect from top-tier boutique label releases in terms of packaging. I mean, these are just gorgeous. I mean, just look at that disc tray image. I mean, it's just fantastic. Next is 1957's The Garment Jungle. This one I haven't seen in a while. This was eventually wound up being directed by Vincent Sherman, but it was originally started by Robert Aldrich, and essentially there was a friction between him and the studio, and eventually Sherman was brought in, and Aldrich either walked or was fired, and created some bad blood between him and Columbia, and basically set him off on a different career path. So it's very important for Aldrich fans, or if you're curious about his career, and Vincent Sherman came out of the glory days of 1940s Warner Brothers. So it's a surprisingly good film, but if you don't know that backstory, it kind of helps to explain why the tone is a little back and forth in places. It's a little weird, like it wants to do multiple different things, because there was all this sort of jockeying going on behind the scenes, but still really beautiful artwork, beautiful package. And apparently this will be discussed in the extras, because it does list a piece talking about this film and Robert Aldrich and his career, so that's going to be gone over in the extras. Again, wonderful interior and disc art. There's the disc tray. And then probably the best film in the set, definitely the most notable, and a heck of a good picture that doesn't get talked about enough. Directed by the legendary, should be more legendary and better known, Don Siegel, as of course the 1958 film The Lineup. And of course the image of Eli Wallach here is what is on the main image of the box set itself. This thing is loaded with extras. fantastic commentaries and featurette pieces by film noir enthusiasts and critics. Here's the interior, and then show you the actual. And then there is another lovely bound indicator booklet, but this is really hefty. I don't know how well this will come across, but it is extraordinarily thick. Has this wonderful wraparound image, and there's Glenn Ford there. So this is very hefty because, of course, it's going to be covering all the films in the set, but done in the wonderful indicator way. There's even a table of contents. I mean, you could easily publish this in book form, and it could be a full book because it already is. But there's a piece on each film, and again, just loaded to the gills with more beautiful images. Here's one where they actually got a Robert Aldrich interview on the Garment Jungle. So there you have Columbia Noir Volume 1, an essential Blu-ray box set release. If only all studios' film noirs got, gorgeous deluxe packages like this for films that really deserve it. So I'm so happy Indicator decided to do this series. These are all great films, and I look forward to getting into the other volumes as well. So, of course, I did immediately go into Columbia Noir Volume 2, this with a gorgeous image of Glenn Ford and Rita Hayworth, coming right off of the huge success of Gilda, which, of course, was released on Blu-ray by Criterion. I love that they continued with the same matching design on the boxes, but with each having a distinctive color, so you'll be able to tell them apart. Let me take the shrink wrap off. So here it is with the shrink wrap taken off. Take the band off. So here we go. This is number 4370 of 6,000. Again, they did have to print more of these because they did sell out. Of course, the old-fashioned tag on the side hits a new high in tension and terror. Hope you don't mind me doing my goofy trailer voice on this. And then you get to the box itself without the band on. Do I even need to say anything? That's just absolutely stunning. There's the side. Indicator always nicely putting the spine numbers on the exterior of the box. And then the extensive list of extras for all the films and their restoration credits. Again, it has the same design as Volume 1, so each film gets its own beautiful little slim case. First from 1947 is Framed. There's the list of extras, and here is the beautiful interior. I run out of superlatives to use when I'm going through these, so all I can say is stunning and fantastic and amazing. But again, looking at these is one thing. Seeing pictures online is one thing, but actually getting it in your hands and looking at it, I mean, it's just like every other Indicator box set, but it's just an extreme attention to quality and detail. Next from 1950 is 7-Eleven Ocean Drive. I love the printing quality on these original posters here. Again, these are of such a high quality that you can just feel the texture of the paper stock in your hand. And then here they've gone with an alternate poster on the inside. Next for 1951 is The Mob. Beautiful interior. This just definitely puts you in the Noir-vember mood, so it's perfect that I was able to get these and it's still November. Next for 1952, also directed by Vincent Sherman, is the aforementioned Affair in Trinidad, which is essentially pairing our favorite two from Gilda, and a new film, but is obviously patterned after its success. It's the extras package. And of course, the interior uses the poster, and it even mentions Gilda all over it, so they definitely weren't hiding that fact. Here's the interior. Next from 1955 is Tight Spot. Fantastic cast there. There's the extras package. And then lastly for 1958 is Murder by Contract. And then once again we have the really substantial booklet for Volume 2, again with the beautiful sort of wraparound image. So again, this could be printed as a full-on book or released this way, and you could buy it in a bookstore. It's that well done. Again, loaded with fantastic stills and essays. These are just beautiful, and a definite enticement on getting the box sets before they're gone. So that is Columbia Noir 2, another essential indicator box set. Perfectly matches Volume 1, and just as with Volume 1, definitely, if you're interested in this, please go ahead and get it before it is gone, because they are very close to selling out on these. Next, this was another one. This is actually a complete blind buy for me. I've always been interested in some aspects of the character and wanted to read the novels, but unfortunately they are so rife with the awful yellow peril racist nonsense that it really does mar trying to look at anything having to deal with Sax Rohmer's Fu Manchu novels and the whole character. I'm most familiar with the 1932 MGM Boris Karloff starring The Mask of Fu Manchu, which is an interesting blend of adventure and over-the-top almost camp glee in terms of how morbid and nasty it can get. It's very much a pre-code film and revels in it, which is why I love it. But it was heavily censored before and after the fact for its content in terms of Fu Manchu going on about the evils of other races and things, and it is definitely jarring when you come across that. But I knew of and I'd seen bits of the later Fu Manchu films of the 60s and 70s that starred Christopher Lee, primarily produced by Harry Alan Towers. So it was definitely a surprise to hear that Indicator announced their Fu Manchu Cycle box set, which I have here in the limited edition. They did brand new 4K restorations on these. These have gotten not so good video transfers. They do have previously existing Blu-rays, but they're all from old masters. These are all night and day improvements. I mean, it's amazing the attention to detail that Indicator went to on these, and commissioning and performing new transfers themselves. Beautiful artwork and everything, just like all the other limited boxes. I know the quality of these films are not supposed to be the greatest, but I've always wanted to see them, and I'm a huge Christopher Lee fan, and I do really enjoy the 1932 MGM film with Boris Karloff and Myrna Loy, so I'm very curious to look at Indicator's presentation and also look at the fantastic extras they've pulled together. So let me get the shrink wrap off this. Easier said than done. One moment. Please stand by. Technical difficulties. I know this is riveting. So here it is with the shrink wrap taken off. And remove the band. This is number 5209 of 6,000. This was another that all of a sudden they announced low stock, and they did sell out and had to print more, just like the 2 Columbia Noir volumes. So that just further enticed me because I didn't want to miss out on this, and I wanted to see all the limited edition extras too. And of course, great tagline, "The sinister minister of fear is here." So here is the box art in all its glory, with this fantastic image of Christopher Lee, although I'm pretty sure this is just a lift from the iconic Vincent Price face poster for Corman's The Mask of the Red Death in 1964. But still, it looks fantastic. An Indicator was using this for their insert cards for a while, so I have one of those here. So, very wonderful image. And of course, the top carries the titles, as usual. Then the spine has this wonderful image of Lee as Fu Manchu, holding a dagger aloft. Then there's the rear with the boatload of extras. So the first, from 1965, is the face of Fu Manchu. Beautiful artwork here, and of course, with that tagline, they're again, not very subtle. And then here is the absolutely wealth of extra materials. Again, brand new 4K scan on this, as all the features in the set. So even if you've seen these films before, you can already look at screen captures and reviews online. I mean, they look brand new. So the work Indicator did on these is really something else, and very surprising because these films are not highly regarded at all. They don't have great critical receptions at all, and do have definite production limitations. So I am very excited to finally take the plunge on these and see them in these beautiful editions. So next is 1966's The Brides of Fu Manchu. Again, very bold poster artwork. Again, a whole wealth of extras and a brand new 4K scan from the original negative. So again, even if you may not be a fan of these or you may not think they're the greatest films in the world, the presentation quality leaves absolutely nothing to be desired. A number of these, like Brides, also has different versions. So you get a theatrical version in both UK and US variants, with the US version having a completely different prologue. So again, it's not just the new scans, but Indicator also includes alternate presentations where available. Next is 1967's The Vengeance of Fu Manchu. Again, extremely bold poster artwork on all of these, with the same wonderful high quality cardstock that we see on the Columbia Noir sets. Very bold choice for the disc art there. Then we have 1968's The Blood of Fu Manchu. Again, just like the rest, a 4K original negative scan. Just beautiful quality that you wish could be afforded to every film, but something Indicator really prides themselves on in terms of every release being of this level of quality. Then last we have 1969's The Castle of Fu Manchu. Then again, we have another massive booklet like the Noir boxes. So here is the Fu Manchu booklet. I should say book. These are not booklets. These are books. You could publish this and sell it in a bookstore. It's so well done. Table of contents with information and pieces on each of the films. Even a piece on Harry Alan Towers himself. But of course, that's not all. We also have another nice grouping of printed stills, or small lobby cards, I guess I should say. Again, if I can get this band off without while keeping it nice, if possible. So again, printed on the same lovely, nice, thick cardstock. But wait, that's not all. We also have a full color fold out poster reproduction. If I can get this unfolded properly. This is something you see in some Indicator boxes and some Arrow limited edition releases, for example, with the same lovely attention to printing quality. These are very much frameable, but you get two different films. So on one side, you have this lovely poster for Brides of Fu Manchu, and then on the other, you have the very striking poster in bold green for Face of Fu Manchu. So that's Indicator's release of the Fu Manchu cycle, 1965 to 1969. A handsome, beautiful package for films that are almost never talked about, don't have the greatest reputation, and definitely are going to be a harder sell in this day and age due to the inherent nature of the source material and the also controversial nature of having non-Asian or non-ethnic actors playing other races and ethnicities, which is something that, a certain time ago was seen as common standard practice and was not really seen for the more questionable aspects that it can raise. However, looking at these things in historical context and actually looking at the original Sax Rohmer stories, which I've always wanted to read because they are extremely important to not just popular literature, but adventure storytelling and many different genres due to their huge popularity and Rohmer's strength as an author if you can look at these stories outside of the more problematic aspects and understand them and why they happened and why this all occurred within historical context, something that I believe all the extras Indicator has put together really tries to do to explain both the character of Fu Manchu and the nature of the films that Harry Alan Towers produced here with Christopher Lee. if you can do that, I think it's very important to still study things like this that may be considered objectionable in this modern day and age. So it is definitely always important to look at these with historical context. And I'm very excited to finally be able to look at these films in their entirety in beautiful new 4K restorations in this gorgeous Indicator box set. So a real welcome surprise from Indicator. This is something I never dreamed anybody was going to do. And now Kino Lorber has announced they're going to release the two of the original early sound and silent Warner Orland starring Fu Manchu films, which I've always wanted to see as well out of curiosity. So I don't know what this means, but all of a sudden we have a number of Fu Manchu films on Blu-ray. So hopefully maybe Warner Archive can follow suit with the MGM 1932 Mask of Fu Manchu. But in any case, this is a beautiful box set. It is in very low quantities, so if you're at all interested in this set, just like the Columbia Noir boxes, definitely go ahead and purchase now rather than later, because this set will not be around very much longer. And then last but certainly not least, I decided to go ahead and get the current latest volume in Indicator's Hammer boxes. So I now have volumes 2 through 6. Unfortunately, I missed volume 1. So I'm glad I got it, because this is actually very late in the printing run. Again, it's not listed as low stock, but it's definitely disconcerting when you get one and it's almost at the end of the 6,000. So, of course, I got Hammer Volume 6, Night Shadows. This beautiful box artwork done to match perfectly to the previous 5 volumes. And this is probably what Indicator's now most known for, is their Hammer box sets. Let's get the plastic off of this one. So here it is with the shrink wrap off. Take the band off. Again, this is number 5895 out of 6,000. So I don't know if that means they've already sold a lot of these, or they just happened to grab this one when they were packaging my order. Of course, we have a tagline on the side. Out of the hellfire of horror, unimaginable rises the figure of terror incarnate. Again, very Blood and Thunder. Gotta love that stuff. Then here is the box image by itself. It's looking very striking. There's the Hammer logo on the side with the spines, the fantastic extras package for the 4 films, and then we get to the keep cases inside. So starting with 1961's The Shadow of the Cat. Beautiful original artwork, and again, an absolutely loaded Indicator Hammer extras package. Here's the beautiful limited edition booklet. And the rear. Here's the disc itself and the interior artwork. Next is the 1962 Hammer more historical thriller, but still one of their most underrated great little films, and essential for Peter Cushing nerds like myself, as of course Captain Clegg, also known as Night Creatures. Depending on what territory you're in, it'll have different titles. This is where the beautiful ghostly skeleton on the skeleton horse image on the box comes from. Loaded with extras. Here's the wonderful booklet. This is one of the great little gems in Hammer's catalog, so if you haven't seen this, it is well worth a watch. Here's the disc, and then the interior artwork. And here it carries the alternate Night Creatures title. Next is Hammer's 1962 version of The Phantom of the Opera, starring Herbert Lom and directed by Terence Fisher. This is one of those films that definitely grows on you, and it's actually sort of an odd blend of the original 1925 Lon Chaney silent Universal film, but more it is a remake of the 1943 Technicolor remake Universal did starring Claude Rains. It has elements of both, and it does kind of soften the Phantom character just like the 1943 film did. So it's an interesting blend. It's not for everybody, but it definitely grows on you, and it has a certain almost poetic emotional quality or an undercurrent to it that it makes it almost unique in a lot of ways. It has I'd say it has a similar feel in ways to, say, that same sort of emotional undercurrent that you find in 1964's The Gorgon, for example. So here's the booklet. This is one of the Hammer films that definitely doesn't have the greatest reputation, but again, the more you see it, it really does grow on you. And it's really interesting to look at these three versions of Phantom, 1925, 1943, and Hammer's 1962 version, and look at their similarities and what they share, and then how they differ and how they, completely branch out. And of course, the film was developed, and the original idea was that the Phantom would be played by Cary Grant, but unfortunately that sort of fell apart, and it is thought that maybe that's what led the film to be a bit softer in terms of how it characterized the Phantom himself, maybe befitting had Cary Grant actually stayed on and played him as originally intended. So it's a great, interesting what if, but I do like that Herbert Lom got to take a stab at the role because he is one of my favorite character actors and supremely underrated. And then here's the alternative poster artwork on the interior. And this thing is absolutely loaded with extras. The encoding is also a lot better. So here in the US, we have the Shout Factory Collector's Edition, but I think the Indicator version definitely tramples all over it in terms of having a boatload of additional extras and having much better encoding. So while the Shout Factory release is good, it is one of their better collector's editions, I do think the Indicator is the much superior presentation overall and has even more extras as evidenced by the rear cover here. And then last is 1964's Nightmare, also from Hammer's psychological thriller series, written by Jimmy Sangster, and this one, of course, directed by Freddie Francis. Beautiful extra selection on the back. I love the artwork they went with. Of course, we have our limited edition booklet. And again, calling these a booklet is really a disservice because they are, even though they're not the big bound books from the box sets, they are still full-on books in and of their own selves. And here's the disc and the wonderful internal reverse art. So here it is, Hammer Volume 6, Night Shadows, which is another in their fantastic line of Hammer boxes. It is rumored or thought generally that they will perhaps do some more, so I'm sure we'll see at some point a volume 7 and 8. I don't know if maybe they'll get to redo some of the titles that maybe Shout Factory and others have already done, and it'll be interesting to see Indicator take a stab at those. But as with all their Hammer box sets, because these are so popular, if you are interested in these, this one is the most recent one, so it'll be a while before it sells out. But as with all their limited editions, if you are really interested in these, and the Hammer ones in particular, since the first 4 have already sold out completely, it is advisable to not wait around a long time before ordering these limited box sets. So that's it for this video. This is my entire order from the Indicator 5th anniversary sale from their website. It is just a joy to be able to finally have these various releases that I've really wanted, and then some of the new releases from 2020 and 2021. Indicator continues to amaze and really produce these fantastic releases that are beyond worth every penny you pay for them. And now they've finally entered the US market, so their first releases of 2022 will be sold on day and date in both the US and the UK. So hopefully that means a lot of these fantastic releases that all of us here in the States love so much, it might finally be a bit more affordable to get all the Indicator releases and not have to deal with import costs and things. But of course, due to licensing, it'll still remain some titles that will be UK exclusive, and of course all the prior titles they have released, I think they'll have to renegotiate if they want to do a US release maybe, or a US reissue of something previously released in the UK. So that all remains to be seen, but it's great to see Indicator finally coming to the US because I really do think they are overall the best label in the world. It's not me being a fanboy of Indicator, although I am, as with most every boutique label, but they have impressed me to such a degree, and that with every release, the level of quality and fine detail in all aspects, even when it's not able to be a 4K or a 2K restoration of a film, is such that you know that every title they select is a film that they actively care about and or champion for films that are not well regarded or even well known or well thought of, and that carries across to you, the purchaser or the audience of the actual disc release itself. So it makes it all the more special to know that somebody really cares about the whole experience and about the individual particular films themselves, which of course other labels do. And that's not to say that other labels don't care, but you can definitely feel that coming through when you rip the shrink wrap off and you're just confronted with like one of these box sets or one of these fantastic booklets from the limited editions. And it's such a thrill being able to get indicator titles, because you do have to go through extra hurdles and import them and wait for sales when you're here in the US and try to make it a bit more affordable. So admittedly, I did spend more than I wanted to, but that free shipping threshold was right there, and a lot of the box sets were getting dangerously close to being sold out, and I didn't want to miss on the noir box sets like I did on Hammer Volume 1. And since I was already doing that, I decided to stock up on Hammer Volume 6 and some of the others. So I couldn't let 20th Century and Criminal Code and the Noir and Fu Manchu boxes go to out of print status. So that's why I went a little crazy this year. But also, Indicator has such fantastic service, and I didn't mind the extra weight. You know, they were very courteous to let people know that when things sold out, they would actually go and have to get more printed, and they would still sell them during the sale, which I found I really appreciated, because I really had already made up my mind I was going to spend more than I thought, and then I was like, "Oh crap! I missed stuff already. It's out. It's gone." And thankfully, they came back and did that, and they said, you know, if you ordered these, it would simply take a while longer. So I just went ahead, and I don't regret it at all. These are all incredible releases. So if you're interested in any of these, please do yourself a favor and finally dip your toes into the indicator waters, because these releases are really without equal, I think, in terms of quality across the board. The extras packages, the booklets, the artwork, the box sets, the packaging quality and attention to detail themselves, which is absolutely superb. I do think Indicator really is unparalleled in all of these aspects. So if you're looking for the label to beat in terms of who's doing the best job in quality on practically everything they do, I really do think it is Powerhouse Indicator. So it's been a thrill to go over these with you. I just got these in the mail, so this has been me just unboxing them here on my YouTube channel. So as always, I hope this has been informative and maybe somewhat fun. Definitely leave any comments you have about Indicator Blu-ray releases, or if you picked up anything in their 5th anniversary sale, what you got or what you're most excited for in their 2022 catalog or coming to the US, for example. So as always, thank you ever so much for watching. Keep your disc spinning, keep supporting boutique Blu-ray labels, and keep physical media alive.